Hi, everybody. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to change the world one brave word at a time. And today we're celebrating the release of an upcoming book called Sacred Death, 25 Tools for Caregivers. You guys, this is a project led by Hemali Vora, and I'm going to first say a huge thank you to her. Hemali, thank you for your vision for this book. We wouldn't be here without you and your beautiful mission to help people talk about and understand death in a different, more powerful, and more impactful way. This was a brave project to lead, and I'm speaking for all of us when I say that we're so honored to be a part of it. So you guys, here to help me with this really important and powerful discussion today are some of the amazing authors of this collaboration. Welcome, ladies. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Laura.
So you guys, I have Melissa McGlone, and you guys, I'm going to pronounce the name, and if I butcher it, you're going to have to help me out. Melissa McGlone, certified colon hydrotherapist, healing artist of metaphysical modalities, fertility coach, and goddess mother healing. Jennifer Browne is a physical therapist with 21 years of experience with the desire to help people live through all stages of life. Alice Fung guides and empowers folks to anchor into their sovereignty. There we go. Befriend their will, bring embodied awareness to charged emotions that need release so they can come back home to their true self or original nature. And Theodora Elena Engelhardt is a 28-year-old visual artist and yoga teacher who's currently studying psychotherapy in Vienna, Austria, and loves working as an emotional release and holistic health mentor and facilitating yoga workshops and retreats. You guys feel the power in this room that I have right now. Yes. Thank you to all of you for stepping up and saying yes to this project and for really bringing the authentic stories and really your master teachings to this book. I appreciate all of you so much. So Melissa, you're going to get this party started for us. Talk to us about your amazing work.
So thank you, Laura, and Hemali. I'm so honored to be here as well among these amazing authors. My chapter is chapter 20, and it's intuition, completion through listening to your higher self. So I wrote a chapter, what I thought would be the chapter would be about my mother's death. It did start out like that, but what I sort of geared it to was how I used intuition over my entire life to get through different situations and then ultimately be there for my auntie, who was my mom's best friend at the time of her death. So it was using my own intuition to be there, to be able to be honored, to be part of that death process with her.
So tell me more about how that process was for you because you were tuned into the intuition. Like, I mean, this is something that I say to myself a lot. If I had only been more in tune earlier in life, right? I am much more now. But tell me more about that.
Sure. So for instance, that day I was supposed to be working. I typically work all day Saturdays, and for whatever mystical reason, my day ended at 12 o'clock. My cousin called me at 11 saying, hey, if you want to be here, you need to come now. So I literally was able to listen to I Gotta Come Now and jump in my car, get there just in the nick of time. Even throughout the process of being there, there were little sort of ticklers on my shoulder to get back in that hospital room because it was like she waited for me to get there. And I really tuned into the different signs and symbols that day to allow myself to be part of that process, not fight it, but be part of it. And it was one of the most honoring things for me in my life, was to be there.
And this is something that we need to do for everything in life, not just that particular situation. Like, how is that intuition? And you said ticklings on my shoulder. I want to have people understand what you mean by that. It could be for any situation.
Right, absolutely. I outline in my chapter the different scenarios in my life where, had I not listened to that little, angel on my shoulder or voice or whatever you want to call it, that I could have been in great danger, like the time I pulled over to let a truck by, and then the truck lost their brakes. So I didn't recognize it early on that was kind of definitely a gift that was given to me, to have that clairaudience, so to speak, and use it. And then when I got into my 40s and now my 50s, it's even getting stronger, which is, I think, part of the gift of getting older, is having that elder wisdom and listening to those higher voices.
I love this topic, you guys. So we could talk about this one all day long, right? It just makes life feel magical when you tune in like that. Melissa, thank you for writing about that.
Thank you, Laura.
So Dr. Jennifer Browne, tell us about your amazing chapter.
Hi, thank you so much, Laura. And I also want to put a big shout out to Hemali Vora. She's been my best friend. I love her, and this is such a great project. And I'm so glad she allowed me to be a part of this project. I wrote a chapter called The Power of Healing Touch, Using Touch in End of Life Care. And I decided to write this chapter because I had the honor and privilege of being with both my grandmother and my grandmother-in-law at the time when they both passed away. So I decided to write my chapter about my experience with being present while they were going through this process of transitioning at end of life. And I decided that through learning the different processes of when someone is going through their end of life, as a physical therapist, and Laura, you're a PT as well, you know, we're so used to helping people live. We're helping people to adapt to new things and to adapt to a different lifestyle if they're not able to do something physically. And so here I am thrown into this position where I'm having to change my frame of thought. You know, how can I help this person peacefully transition? This is the time to let go. What can I do? And I really wanted to convey to readers an option. This is an option. You can use your hands. You can use the energy and the power of your hands to help people transition at the end of their life.
In a very gentle, there's no way you're going to hurt them way. Talk more about that, because I think what happens is you walk in a room and you're terrified, and you think your touch is going to hurt them somehow. And if they've been laying in a bed forever, sometimes they are really uncomfortable, but tell us more about that.
Yes. So I was also scared. I didn't know, what to do. I hadn't really been present when someone was transitioning at the end of their life. And so, just learning that it is okay to touch them. It is okay to put your hand in a gentle way, and in my book, in my chapter, I talk about, it could be something as simple as a gentle touch. Just like when you go to greet someone, you shake their hand, it's very brief. It's, or you may, put your hand on their shoulder. It's super brief. It doesn't have to be long, but just providing that comfort from touching them to say, yes, I'm here. I'm here to support you at this time. Or, if the person is okay with it, you can be a little bit longer too. So there are different ways, but a very gentle, easy thing to do.
You're giving me a moment, because I'm having a little flash to the moments I have walked into they've been hospital rooms, right? So I haven't been privy to a home death in my life yet. So those hospital rooms can be scary already. But then beyond that, you're giving me the moment of, oh my goodness, this person that you love. So rather than retracting literally in fear with all of your loving energy, what if we could just lean in a little bit, even with that hover or that light hand or that light touch on? Is there anything else you want to say about that? Thanks for that.
No, absolutely. That's exactly. I mean, I want people to not be fearful. I want them to know that this person is still there, and they will honor and love the fact that you're leaning in and putting your hands on them to show your support. So don't be afraid. It is okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, you guys, this whole book is such a gift. And I love hearing you talk about it. So Dr. Alice Fung, am I saying your last name correctly? You have to correct me if I am not. Tell us about your beautiful chapter.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a you're pronouncing it perfectly.
Good.
Thank you so much for having me, and Hemali for inviting me to collaborate on this very meaningful book project. And my chapter is chapter 17, Embodied Awareness. And so I wrote about my grandmother passing away. I grew up sleeping in the same bed as her for many years, so we were very close. And basically, I was going through so many different emotions. I was abroad studying Chinese medicine in Shanghai, China, when I got the news that she got lung cancer. And so that just shocked me. And so not being physically close to me, I couldn't do a lot of the caretaking. But in the book, I did say I was able to a little bit when she came to visit. And so I talk about charged emotions and the emotions that, I personally went through, and how helpless I felt, I thought, oh, these emotions control me and I have no control over these emotions, and it's just gonna take over. So it was my intention to share that, you totally do have the ability to be in the driver's seat and not have emotions like run you. So I do share some tools in regards to acupressure, breathing, and contemplation.
I love this. Embodied awareness is my jam. I think that awareness is everything. I actually have a question that I'm going to be getting around to all of you later about this. But what I wanted to say about the emotions thing and just hear a little bit more from you is that this topic specifically, and again, I'm just going to say it again, that, touching that loved one might scare you. Your own emotions might scare you. And so you don't want to go there because you're afraid of what might happen if you walk in that room or touch the person or just think about it. Tell us more about that emotion thing.
Yeah, it was very overwhelming for me to even think about the fact that she's gonna die in the near future, because she's been so a part of my life. And so I'm someone who just was conditioned to stuff all the emotions that I had. So to have it surface suddenly, it was like, yeah, these emotional waves just came and I'm like, I can't, this is not sustainable. So, and I was like, okay, what can I do? I can come back to my breath. This is the one thing that I have like right now that I can resource myself with. So just starting with just like breathing, and then slowing down my breath, and just being with this emotion and letting it run its course, and just experimenting to see, okay, if I do this, like what happens, it feels like I'm drowning, but when I go through it and it moves through me, I'm like, okay, it's like I can settle again into my body. And so just learning to trust being with myself and whatever arises.
I love that so much. Learn to trust being with yourself in the death process, whether you're there with somebody else or whatever situation you're in. Learning to trust that emotion is not, you're not going to die from feeling. Feeling is healing, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Alice. Thank you for writing about this. I think it's so foundational and important. And I am going to ask you guys a question about that awareness practice for yourself, but let's hear from Theodora first about her beautiful chapter.
Hello, Laura. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for being part of this project and for the universe of bringing Hemali and me together in a Saturday market in Guatemala. and talking about her project and seeing my art and wanting me to make the cover of the book and then later write the chapter. So I'm very, very grateful. Well, my chapter is about letting go, about the powerful path to self-responsibility and self-compassion. And what I wanted to share with you was about the story with my mom, about the suicide attempt of my mom when I was at the age of 17, and about how it was for me to deal with all this emotion, losing eventually my mom at such a young age, because this was her biggest wish at the time. So I had to learn, because at the beginning, you know, I wanted to try to convince her in all the way possible that this is not the only way out, and there are so many other possibilities. But I realized that this is her choice and it's her life. And beyond this doesn't mean that she's not loving me, but it's about her decision and her only way out. So then I swifted my emotions and my thoughts, my mindset, to giving her forgiveness, love, and learning to deal with losing my mom. And the tool also is about the technique I developed at that time, but actually early in my childhood. And a very powerful technique for me, which I'm also implementing in right now, also in my life, in different situations.
So, listeners, if you didn't catch it when she started to speak, Theodora is the amazing artist of the artwork on the front cover of this book, which I can't stop staring at. So, thank you. Thank you for everything you put into that beautiful spiral. And there's just so many things about it, right? You gotta love a great book cover, but the art on that cover really is amazing, Theodora. So thank you. And also thank you for so beautifully writing the story about your mom and the interaction. So something you all did so brilliantly is you offered us the gift of your awareness in terms of the way you wrote your stories. And I think that when we get to be in your head, when we get to be a fly on the wall of your head noise, you're offering us the gift of the awareness process you're moving through in the moment. And when we understand that, we can sort of wake up to our own possibilities there. What might be possible in terms of a different mindset. You know, Theodora talked about mindset, a different way to think about something, different perspective, right? It's the little moments of healing inside of that gift of awareness. And awareness is everything. I believe this is the foundation for everything when it comes to understanding what's possible on this journey of life and death. So I'm actually going to move back to Alice to ask this first question that I'm going to come back around to all of you for. And when she was talking about embodied awareness, this is really right up all of your all's alley, but I want you to share, Alice, what's your personal awareness practice been like? What's been important about that for you? And it doesn't even have to do with your chapter or that story you shared, but in general.
Mm-hmm. I find for me resting in just like little pauses throughout the day to be very resourceful for me. And breath is a very easy way for me to just come back to my body. And I tell myself, like, just be in the here and now. Like, because with this monkey mind, you know, a million thoughts going like all the time, it's easy to be taken away out of like the moment. And so I really do rest in just like little pauses. It can be just like the sun is shining in my face right now, and that could be an invitation to just pause and just sit here and feel the warmth of the ray of the sun. And just like little moments like that throughout the day can help reset my mood.
Yes, I hope, I know all of you bask in those small moments. I think that if you've chosen the healing path and the journey, and then you've also chosen to be a teacher, that is the practice. It's just that one moment of sunbeam coming through the window or whatever that is, like you reminded yourself to stop and feel it. And how beautiful is that? Because it's so simple. And then we all know, Alice just said monkey mind, right? So we all have versions of monkey mind going on in our own selves that we have to battle every day. Is there anything else you wanted to say about that, Alice?
Yeah. So I talk a little bit about, false narratives, like that can be attached to emotions, and the charge of emotions a lot of times that I've observed is these stories I tell myself, and when I don't stop, it just becomes this elaborate, like fantasy novel. And I'm just like, what is going on with me right now? I feel so wired and like, I'm just not in the moment, the present anymore. So it definitely is like an ongoing process and practice. But yeah, like naming like what is happening in this very moment, like, okay, I am telling myself a story, right? I'm feeling, I feel sad right now. This is what I'm feeling. And just even just naming that helps. I did this just yesterday when I was feeling annoyed. I'm like, what is this sensation? Like, what is this? Sometimes I can't name it, but when I can, I'm like, okay, all right, I feel annoyed. I don't want to talk to anyone. And then I honor that, and that's like the sovereignty and getting congruent with myself. Like in this moment, this is where I'm at, and it's okay to be just wherever I'm at.
I love that. Powerful tool. Okay, so Melissa, what do you want to add about this awareness, and share a little bit of your personal practice?
So for me to get in that meditative, brain balanced kind of Zen space, I'm not great at sitting and meditating, but I am great at getting in the water. So for me to get in.
Uh-oh, I think she froze. Did she freeze, gals? Okay. Melissa, we have you frozen. So I am going to come back to you about the water just as soon as you unfreeze. Are you back with us yet? Not yet. Okay. I love technology. I love technology. I'm going to move to Theodora with the same question, and then I'm coming back to you, Melissa.
Okay.
Oh, you're back. Okay. Tell us about the water.
So I get in the water every day to get in my Zen place, and my moon is in Pisces, so I'm a water girl. And my colleagues at work always say, you're a much better citizen when you get in that water in the morning. Did you swim today? So I swim in order to get to that place, and I'm a whole lot happier. I'm much more balanced when I'm in the water or after getting in the water. So that's my sort of daily baptism practice, if you will.
Really nice. And how cool is it that, when we identify that thing for ourselves, and then of course that becomes a regular tool. And then if we honor that knowledge that that thing is our tool and becomes a practice, and then I use the D word, I say, when you've created a discipline out of things like that, your life is a mastery of the moment. And it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Okay, Theodora, back to you about this awareness practice. Tell me a bit about yours.
Well, for me, during my awareness practices, the most blown-minded understanding what came out was the idea of impermanence, like the idea of us not being linear all the time and living as the cycle beings we are, and understanding that we need happiness and joy, but on the other hand, there is sorrow and fear and anger, which is also having to be expressed. And it's important to understand that we experience all this suffering in order to be able to transform and to grow. So I think this is what I understand regarding awareness and
So
my practice.
that word impermanence also makes me think of detachment, which is part of, yeah. So tell me more about how you do that piece.
Exactly, like detaching is so important because, for example, in the situation with my mom, I could have decided to like hate her and not understand why is she taking this decision, because actually when someone is passing away, it's not in this physical realm anymore. It's us suffering because we cannot see these persons anymore. We cannot touch them. So it's about ourselves actually. So it's about our ego kind of. So for me, understanding that this is not me, it's her decision, it's her life, and detaching of this and the expectation I have for how she should or someone should create his or her life.
Yeah, another really powerful idea here. And it's a reason I love to hear you all talk about this in all of your very beautiful, unique voices. They all matter. And coming together in a book like this, where there are 25 different ways to talk about awareness, you all are essentially teaching awareness tools, ways to be on the journey that are all a little bit different. And how amazing it is to hear all of the different ways. We need that because then these books become little toolkits of hope, because there's always going to be a way that you hear it, right, that resonates. And it's one of the missions that I have. So thank you all for being brave and really sharing what it was for you. Jennifer, what about you on this awareness question? Talk to me about how it's gone down in your personal journey.
Well, I will say that the pandemic has taught me to really focus on just resting my body. We are always, this go, 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 go kind of society. Quieting my mind is one thing, and I know Alice talked about that, but then also just quieting my body, resting my body. And that's one thing that, I've always struggled with. I've had a hard time doing that, but learning to just, like we talked about meditation, I use Reiki. Reiki has been a great tool for me to just ground myself and channel energy into my body to heal from all the activity that I'm constantly doing throughout the day. And so I think as healthcare providers or as healers, we also have to take care of ourselves and to really honor what our body is saying. So, and not to be funny, but I've learned to take a nap. Which I've never done in my entire life, but I'm tired. My body's tired. I'm gonna lay down and I'm gonna take a nap. And because I've learned to quiet all that noise, I can actually fall asleep. It's great.
It feels like a miracle sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, even just a 15-minute rest and I wake up and I feel like a new person. So, that's been very helpful for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think we go from needing naps as infants and toddlers, and then we grow out of our naps. We can't wait to not have a nap in kindergarten class, and then
Yes.
and then we come all the way full circle to, oh my gosh, could I have another nap? Because it would be really good right now.
Yes.
That's so funny.
Absolutely.
So Jennifer, I would like to stick with you for this next question. I'm going to get around to all of you for this one, okay? So having been on this spiritual and healing journey myself for most of my life, I don't ever remember feeling afraid to die. But that experience is so different for everybody. And it depends on the stages of life sometimes and what you're going through and what you're experiencing. So Jennifer, what was that like for you? What's that been like in terms of, did you ever have any fear? How did that go down? How is it now?
Great question. Great question. So I think all of my life, I've always been a big questioner. I like to question, what happens or why does this do that? And so I don't think I was ever really afraid of death or dying, but I just didn't know what happened. And I think as I've grown and throughout my life, I've read lots of books. I've learned about, you know, people who are mediums who can talk to people who have passed away and things like that. And through all that reading and research and coming to understanding and being there, you know, being actually physically present when someone has taken their last breath, I'm certainly not afraid of it. I certainly honor it. I don't want to say I look forward to it, but it's something that I feel like is a natural process of life. You know, you're born and then you die, and everyone is going to experience it. And so I think that I'm very happy in the place that I am right now, knowing that it's not something to be feared. It's something that I do believe we will live on. And so it's just getting out of our physical world that we're in. And I know Theodora talked a little bit about that physical world, and we're going off into another realm, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you. I'm just soaking in what you're saying about it.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Well, topic is a lot. And
Yeah.
this one thing for people, that's why I wanted to ask you all, because these kinds of conversations are going to open up other people in terms of giving them possibilities to talk with their own families and friends and loved ones about these things. So it's another thing that I'm so grateful for you guys, and just being those kinds of people and being open to the conversation. This is going to change the way people do grief.
And I hope so, because it is a natural part of life and we need to talk about it. We should be, and this is why this is so wonderful. We are talking about it. Don't be afraid.
Yes, 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 yes. Theodora, talk to me about this in terms of your journey, about this fear of dying, and what do you want to add about this?
When Jennifer was talking, I was remembering a story about when I was a child, and I was asking my grandmother, like I was looking out of the window and I was asking her, when you are going to die, you're not going to be here anymore. Can I still meet you? Can I still see you? Can you do signs? And she told me, I cannot do it because otherwise you're going to be afraid. So actually, since I was a child, I think I was questioning that, also because I grew up in a very religious family. And, you know, in the religion, that is like life, you have to be good in order to go to heaven. So a lot of times I was still afraid when I was a teenager, because I was thinking, okay, I'm not good enough to go to heaven. But then afterwards, like also with the situation with my mom and with throughout my meditation practice, like meditation helped me so much, really, in my entire life since the last years, about understanding that why are we afraid of something what is coming anyways? Like life and death, they are together. It's the same like darkness and light, and we want all the time to have sunny and sun weather and warm weather, but we are going to die, because without rain or darkness, nothing is growing. So it's so interesting to learn to re-educate our minds and our realities to the idea that, hey, this is normal. That is normal. Basic emotions as fear and anger are normal as well. So
yes. Oh my goodness. Of course. Yes. Okay. So in our last interview, was it one of you guys? Maybe it was one of you guys. No, I think it was in the last one. They told us about the We Croak app. Have you guys heard of the We Croak app? Okay, so the reason I'm thinking about it right this second is because Theodora was just giving me that reminder that we have to remind ourselves every single day of what she just said. And so this came up in the last interview, that there's actually an app that will remind you 5 times a day that life is short and you need to live it now, and that, you know, death is part of life, and all of these wonderful things that we're talking about today. So I had to chuckle because I told them, you heard it first about the We Croak app here, and I'm not going to get any extra money for that, by the way, you guys, for all of you who are listening. So, but the reminders, Theodora. So I'm just going to ask you one more question about that. So this is something you all practice every single day. And I want the listeners to understand about that practice. So do you put notes in front of you? Do you just wake up and do a meditation? What do you do about that, about reminding yourself?
I have a regular, like a daily meditation practice around 20 minutes. And it's about, especially about the Vipassana technique. Like I'm scanning my body and I'm trying to not concentrate on one mantra or one affirmation. It's only about being present with my body and understanding, trying to feel in different parts of my body, but only observing. And I think this is so important to learn also in the daily life, that observing is so important, not being I think Alice said about how our emotions are controlling us. So it's so important, because when you observe, you don't give your emotions the ability to control you all the time, which is very important in a lot of situations. So exactly, my meditation is about only being present with my breath, as breath is very important to me. And sometimes doing, as I wrote in the book, my tool, letting go affirmations. Like if there is something very present in my life, then I'm starting with saying loud, saying in like quiet for myself, I'm letting go of this and this and this.
Beautiful, thank you. So Melissa, what would you like to add to this conversation about that fear of dying and how that played out on your journey?
I feel like I have a little bit of both ends of the spectrum. I was raised by a great aunt who, her best friend was a very gifted psychic. So Edgar Cayce was a household name, and he believed that death was just a continuation. And my great aunt really felt like death was something kind of an exciting journey to, I don't know if, like Jennifer was saying, to look forward to, but she was very at peace with it. So I had that. But then, as Theodora said, I also lost my mom at a young age from accidental overdose. We don't really know if it was on purpose or not. So I had the foundation of being raised by a great aunt who was very at peace with death. But then I had the being 8 years old and watching my mom's, as I call it in the book, gold box being lowered into the ground by my grandfather, and being very confused about like, what's cremation, what happens after you die. So I still have a little bit of both of those things. And I think for me, how I reconcile, obviously death as an eventuality, is one of my practices. My loved ones, I always say I love you when I'm hanging up with someone. I don't take it for granted that might be the last time I talk to them. So I try to keep very present to, this is it. Like, this is all we have. The ladies on the podcast, Laura, this is what we have right now. So that's kind of my practice. Beautiful,
beautiful practice. And I hung up the phone with my sister yesterday in the I love you. And I have been noticing that it took me a while to not have a funny feeling to say those 3 words with people I certainly really loved and were close to, but yet there was always this funny feeling, almost, I feel a little embarrassed to say that out loud. It's, I'm just sort of speaking my awareness to you all right now about it. But yesterday it felt so good to just have it be a more natural thing, and definitely an unapologetic, I want to end the conversation like this because you matter, right? And it's how we go into all of our moments with intention that really matter. Thank you, Melissa, for having me think of that. Alice, you, my dear, are going to close us out today on this topic. What do you want to add to this?
For me, I really have sunk into the belief that, we are a microcosm of the universe, and nature is the macrocosm. And we are interconnected very much in that way. And so like death happens within us, within ourselves, right? We regenerate, they regenerate and die. And then when I go take a walk, in the woods, I see these fallen trees. And so there's reminders, if we're aware enough to see them, that show us that it is a natural cycle of life. And sure, the uncertainty of not knowing what happens, after this physical body, goes back into the earth can be scary, and that's very much real. But I guess like at this point in my life, I'm not scared of death, because I do see it as a process of transition into, like another realm. And I feel the presence of my grandmother, her spirit with me. Sometimes it's not as strong, but in moments of like sadness or fear, when I put my hands here and I just think of her, I do feel her embracing me, and that's very comforting to me. Yeah. And
I love that feel you just gave everybody of the hug. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Alice. Okay, so I think we can make this happen. I'm going to ask you all one more speed dating question, okay? So you have to answer in one sentence, and that's going to be your challenge. I'm going to start with Theodora. So one of the things I know for sure is this journey is for warriors. We have to take care of ourselves, relentlessly if we're going to serve from that overflow. So Theodora, tell me your favorite way to practice self-care. What's your favorite thing you do for yourself to nourish your own self?
Dancing and hugging myself and kissing my knees.
Okay, that's 3 things. I'll take them all. You're awesome. You're good. I'm giving you a hard time. Alice, favorite way?
with a cup of tea. And
a cup of tea, yes.
Just like watching the steam swirl, that's one way I like to be with myself.
Do you have a favorite flavor tea? Just out of curiosity.
It changes.
Okay.
My favorite is Eastern Beauty. It's like a oolong. I really like that one.
I love it. I've been into teas lately myself. Jennifer, what's your favorite way to take care of yourself?
Well, I think right now it's got to be those naps. I need to make a shirt that says "I love naps."
We'll make that T-shirt.
Yes, I love naps. Yeah, so that would be it right now for sure.
I love that. Melissa, how about you?
I would say savoring and cooking dinner with my children on a Sunday night, and just reminding everybody that self-care is not selfish.
Love that so much. Oh my goodness. I love all of those things. You guys, listen, authors, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everybody.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
So listeners, don't forget to join us on August 17th, 10 a.m. Eastern for our live stream book launch party on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page. I have you hooked up down below in the show notes, along with all of these amazing authors, websites, and pages in case you need to give them the next step, go into their world, ask them a question. And I want to make sure you understand that we have an incredible opportunity on Facebook right now, the Sacred Death Community Group, where you can come in and rub elbows with these authors and ask them questions about what you've heard today and in their chapters. So that is going to be amazing. Come on in there. And of course, if you're listening to this after August 17th, well, that means you need to get on over to Amazon because the book is ready for you to purchase. Lastly, today, everybody remember, your brave words change the world. What if that thing you're still a little afraid to share is exactly what someone needs to hear to change or even save their life? It's time to be brave. See you next time, everybody. Bye, ladies.